It's midnight. The world is asleep, but your mind still running. Thinking about what you said earlier, replaying it, rewriting it, wishing you could go back and say it better, or not say it at all. You feel your chest tighten, not from danger, but from thoughts that won't quit. And no matter how many times you tell yourself, it's not a big deal, it still feels like it is. Hey, I see you. Welcome to the Nikko Daze show. This one's special, a YouTube exclusive. A little more raw, a little more real, because I know there are nights like this, when you're up in your room, wondering if anyone else's brain feels as loud as yours. Today, we're talking about overthinking, that constant overanalyzing, second-guessing, spiraling, the anxiety that never shuts up, that makes you question everything you do, everything you are. But before we go further, do me a favor. If you're here for this kind of softness, this kind of honesty, hit subscribe, like the video, turn on that little bell, because every Wednesday and Saturday, we unpack these moments, the quiet ones that still hurt. All right, take a deep breath. You're safe here. Let's talk about it. The fluorescent lights above the counter were humming softly, the only sound in the nearly empty fast food store where you just finished your shift. It's past 11 p.m. You're sitting at one of the corner booths, still wearing your apron, sipping from a paper cup filled with watered-down soda. The place is clean, quiet, but inside your head, it's anything but. You replay a moment from earlier when you forgot to add ketchup to a customer's order. They didn't even seem that mad, but you've thought about it 5 times now. Should you have said sorry? More sincerely? Did your tone sound dismissive? Did the manager notice? You shake your head, trying to let it go, but your mind clings to it like static. That's when you start to wonder, why do I do this? Why can't I just move on like everyone else seems to? Let's have the Daze check-in. Close your eyes or soften your gaze if that feels safer. Take a deep breath, in through the nose, hold, and out through the mouth. Again and again, let's gently ask the questions that most of us are too afraid to sit with. When was the last time you felt proud of yourself and believed it? How often do you second-guess what you say, what you do, even who you are? Do you ever rehearse conversations before they happen, and then replay them after until you've picked yourself apart? When did your brain start becoming your biggest critic instead of your safest place? Have you started apologizing for simply existing, for taking up space, time, attention? You might laugh a little because that hits too close, or you might tear up because someone finally said it out loud. That's the thing with overthinking. It's not just about being too sensitive or too anxious. It's about feeling like you're constantly walking on mental eggshells, trying to predict everything so you won't disappoint anyone, even yourself. So here's your moment. No judgment, no rush, just you, me, and a little pause in this loud world. How are you really feeling? What's been echoing in your mind all week? And most of all, have you been kinder to others than you've been to yourself? Stay in this stillness for a few seconds more. You're here, you're not alone, and you're allowed to take up space, even in your own mind. It started when I was 19, or maybe earlier. I didn't have the language for it then, but I now know that what I was dealing with was high-functioning anxiety. I was juggling a part-time job, school, and family responsibilities, and on the outside, I looked like I had it together. I showed up early, I smiled, I did my work, I responded to messages. People called me reliable, focused, driven, but inside, I was exhausted, not from the tasks, but from my own thoughts. I would overanalyze every single thing I said to people, even the ones closest to me. I'd text someone thank you, and then stare at the screen, wondering if I should have added an emoji, or maybe 2. Did they think I was being too cold, too needy, too fake? At work, if a coworker was quiet, I'd spiral. Did I do something wrong? Did I offend them? Are they mad at me? And don't even get me started on school. One late submission, and I'd convince myself I was lazy, a disappointment, and unworthy of success. The pressure was never external. It was all me. It was internalized chaos. Then came this one moment. I was 20. I had just gotten off a shift at my job in a coffee shop. It was a rough day. A manager had given me constructive criticism that I immediately translated into, "You're failing. You're a burden." I sat on the curb behind the building, apron still on, watching the city lights blur through my tears. I remember texting someone, "Hey, I think I'm not okay." They replied a few hours later with a thumbs up. That was it. And I know they probably didn't mean anything bad. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they didn't know what to say. But to me, in that moment, it felt like confirmation that I was too much, too heavy, too needy, too sensitive, that I should just keep things to myself from now on. And so, I did. I started pulling back from friends. I started laughing things off, even when I was dying inside. I smiled more so people wouldn't ask questions. And the more I silenced myself, the louder my thoughts became. That's the thing with overthinking. It doesn't need a big reason. It feeds on silence, on isolation, on self-doubt. And by the time you're 20, when you're supposed to be figuring things out, chasing dreams, building a life, you start realizing that the real battle is just trying to stay mentally afloat. And I don't say this to make it sound hopeless. I say this because if you're there right now, if you're lying awake at night, replaying conversations, if you're anxious before sending a message, if you feel like people are tired of your feelings, I want you to know you're not the only one in that spiral. That night on the curb, I made a silent decision. If no one can hold space for me, I'll build one. And years later, that space became this podcast. This is why the Nikko Daze show exists. So no one has to sit alone in the dark, wondering if they matter. So if you've ever felt like your anxiety was too loud, your thoughts too messy, your presence too much, you'd have somewhere to go. Somewhere that says, you're safe here, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. Overthinking is not just about thinking too much. It's about living inside a storm that never stops, one that turns every small breeze into a hurricane. At 20, that storm is often invisible. You wake up with expectations to be functional, to show up, to be okay, all while your mind is running marathons in the background. Every text, every glance, every silence feels like it needs to be decoded, analyzed, understood, and it's exhausting. No one teaches us that anxiety can wear a mask, one of competence, humor, or perfection. We get praised for being on top of things, for caring too much, for thinking too deeply. And because of that, we mistake our anxiety for personality. But anxiety isn't who you are. It's something you're carrying. There's this quote I once saw that hit me hard. Overthinking is the art of creating problems that weren't even there. But when you grow up trying to stay safe, emotionally, mentally, socially, overthinking feels like safety. It gives you the illusion of control. If I think it through enough, I'll be prepared for the worst. If I read between the lines, I'll protect myself from disappointment. If I assume they're mad at me, I won't be surprised when they leave. But living like that is not protection. It's self-abandonment. You start filtering yourself so much, you forget what your real voice sounds like. You apologize before speaking. You shrink before asking. You over-explain your emotions until they lose their meaning. You slowly erase yourself, one anxious thought at a time. And here's the heartbreaking part. The longer you live in overthinking, the more you begin to believe the lies it tells you. That you're too much, that you're a burden, that people are better off not hearing from you. That if they really cared, they would have checked in. That if you have to ask for reassurance, it's not real. I've been there, and I know you might be there now. So let's interrupt that narrative together. First, you are allowed to exist without constantly questioning your worth. You don't have to earn your space in people's lives by being perfect, or palatable, or emotionally low maintenance. Second, you are not the only one who rewrites texts 10 times, who replays conversations from years ago, who lies awake because a joke you made might have sounded weird. That level of anxiety doesn't make you broken. It makes you human, just one who's carrying too much for too long. Third, real connection begins when you stop pretending to be okay just to make others comfortable. Yes, vulnerability is scary. Yes, some people may pull away, but the ones who stay, who see your mess and stay anyway, those are the people who make healing possible. So if you're in your 20s and feeling burnt out, mentally tired, emotionally drained from the overthinking, just pause. Just breathe. Remind yourself, you don't need to read between the lines of a 2-word reply. You don't need to create worst-case scenarios in your head to brace for disappointment. You don't need to guess what people think of you. You get to ask, you get to clarify. And if they don't give you clarity, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their emotional capacity. You are allowed to ask for what you need. You are allowed to take up space. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you give yourself permission to live outside your own head, to speak without rehearsing, to rest without guilt, to be without always trying to fix everything. Overthinking may be loud, but your truth is louder. Your healing is louder. And in case no one's said it today, I'm proud of you for making it this far. Take out your journal, the notes app on your phone, or even just a random piece of paper. Let's quiet the storm a little. These aren't just writing prompts, they're permission slips. Permission to be honest, to name the things you've been scared to say out loud, to finally see the anxious thoughts for what they are, not facts, but feelings looking for care. Prompt 1. What are the thoughts that keep replaying in your head, the ones that feel too loud to ignore? Write them all down. Don't censor yourself. Let the thoughts spill onto the page, even if they sound irrational or dramatic. That's not the point. The point is release. Prompt 2. When did you first learn that overthinking was necessary to keep yourself safe? Was it in childhood? In a toxic friendship? During heartbreak? Trace it back. There's often a wound beneath the habit. A version of you that needed to overanalyze just to survive. Prompt 3. What would it look like if you started trusting people to hold space for the real you? Unfiltered, unedited, unafraid. Paint the picture. Describe how it would feel to speak without rehearsing, to be honest without apology, to be loved without overcompensating. Prompt 4. What truths can you remind yourself of when your anxiety gets loud? Start a list. These will be your anchors. Things like, I am not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. If I'm too much for them, they're not my people. I deserve softness, even on days I feel chaotic. Let your journal become the place where your truth is safe. No judgment, no overthinking, just honesty. You're not alone in this. You never were. You made it to the end of this episode, and I just want to say thank you, not just for listening, but for showing up for yourself, for sitting in the discomfort, for letting your heart be open, even when it would be easier to shut it all down. That takes courage, and you did that today. If your mind still feels loud after this, that's okay. Healing isn't instant, but the fact that you're here, that you're choosing awareness over avoidance, softness over shame, it means more than you know. And the next time your thoughts start spiraling, I hope you remember that you are not broken. You are not too much. You are a human being with a beautifully complex mind doing its best to keep you safe. Let's keep walking through this together. Let's keep choosing self-compassion, even when it feels unfamiliar. Let's keep learning how to hold ourselves in the places we've always felt misunderstood. And hey, if this episode sat heavy with you or helped you breathe a little easier, share it with someone who might need it too. Tag us, message me. I want to hear your story because this space, it's ours. This was the Nikko Daze Show. New episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday, and this one, a YouTube exclusive, is something special. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment. I'll meet you back here soon. Until then, see you in the daze. Love, Nikko.